Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join certified facilitator and coach Betsy McLoughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Imperfect Brilliance. I am your host for this hour, Betsy McLoughlin, and today I have my friend Heather Nichols joining us. And Heather and I are going to talk about outcreating everything. I really welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
And I've really been looking forward to this conversation, and even just looking at what is outcreating, and what does that mean, and what is the definition of it, and where do we go, even just in hearing that description. So as we were looking at what we wanted to talk about today, looking at what have we defined as limitation and boundaries around what you can do, what you can't do, what you can create, what you can't create, and all of the boxes that we put ourselves in around whatever that is that we've decided or haven't decided about that. So our conversation today is going to be about unraveling that and what questions we can ask. And certainly we'll dive wherever we end up diving. And so Heather, just, before we do dive in, is she's been creating dynamic change in people's lives for over 20 years. And she says yes to life. She says yes to choices. She says yes to exploring the unknown and out-creating everything that she has created so far. And I know that she continues to ask and be that demand really in her own life and for everything that she's creating. So she is a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, and she's a Joy of Business facilitator as well as an X-Men facilitator. And do you have any other specialty licenses right now that you have?
Yeah, I'm a Being You facilitator.
Yes, right.
And conscious parents, conscious kids.
Yes. So lots and lots of special licenses on top of being a certified facilitator. And basically what that means, if you're listening and you're like, I don't know what any of this means, is that there's additional training that you can take, and then from that you receive that license, and then you can teach more specialty classes on those different topics. So anything else you'd like to add there, Heather?
No, I mean, let's dive in. I'm excited for this conversation. Yeah.
All right, great. Well, tell me, even just the title, Outcreate Everything. What does that mean in your world?
I love the word outcreate, and it's definitely, in Access Consciousness, we like to make words up. And I don't know if it's in the dictionary or not. I think it might be a made up one. But
it is not. I actually went to look it up before the call to, give that definition. I was like, nope, it's not in the dictionary.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and we talk about it actually quite a bit in the Joy of Business, and because I think people even who do access have a bit of a misconception about what that word is. A lot of times people replace competition with outcreation, but they actually mean the same thing, So, but the true sort of meaning of outcreating is being actually totally inspired by everything that you see and everyone that you see and everything that everyone is creating, including yourself. Including the world. It doesn't even have to be people. And allowing yourself to receive that and to be that and to add to it with the uniqueness that you be, so that you and so that you basically just keep creating more and more and greater and greater. And it's not about, referencing other people or trying to beat them at creation or whatever. But it's actually about receiving and being totally inspired, and knowing that you're not being the space of being completely unstoppable. So knowing that there isn't anything or anybody that can stop you from creating more. It is only your points of view that stop you from creating more every single day.
Ooh. So it's only your point of view that stops you from creating more every day. Say more on that, Heather.
Well, it's funny. I actually just had a telecall today about I'm doing a class right now called Interesting Point of View with Money. And I absolutely love the tool Interesting Point of View. It is one of my favorite tools. It is I always say, it's sort of, you get sort of the biggest bang for your buck if you're actually willing to use that tool. Because if you use it and you choose it, you get to a space of creation. You get to a space of allowance and vulnerability, not having points of view. And you can really create so much more than you ever have before. And someone was asking actually, because, right now as we're recording this, there's this coronavirus thing going on. And someone was saying, I was fine until recently, and now I started to feel like the coronavirus is going to affect my business and my money flows. And, she was kind of freaking out. And so we had this really cool chat about, okay, so, what if you outcreated the coronavirus and all the insanity around it, and really just started looking at, okay, cool. If this wasn't a problem, what would the possibility be? And that's what I mean by, it's only your point of view that stops you, because anything, and this may sound kind of woo-woo coming out of my mouth, and we can dive more into the kind of how this works, but if you have a point of view that of any, whatever your point of view is, oh, the coronavirus is messing with the economy, it's going to mess things up, everybody's going to freak out. That's what shows up. It's like you walk around projecting your points of view onto this, this screen of your life, and that's how your life shows up. But if you have the point of view, okay, cool, there's something different. There's different energies. There's new energies. A lot of people would say, oh, bad energy or whatever. But if you don't have a point of view about it, it's like, okay, there's a different energy happening right now in the world. What can I do and be to create with this? How can I outcreate this? And if this wasn't a problem, if I didn't have the point of view that this was a problem, what would the possibility be? And one of the things I was saying, is because this call is also about money, it's like, money doesn't, money just circulates in a different way when things like this. It's not like all the money just goes away. It starts to move in a different way depending on people's points of view. Mm-hmm. And so you know, do you want to put yourself in the stream of money where it's flowing? You know, as we all know, toilet paper manufacturers are making lots of money right now. You know, people are spending more money on toilet paper. They're spending more money on supplements. They're spending, you know, so people redirect their resources. And if you don't have a point of view, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. My business is going to die. The world's going to die, you know, but you just go, okay, cool. There's a change. There's a different energy here. Now, what can I do to outcreate it? What can I be to outcreate it? What can I choose to outcreate it? You'll always, if you don't have a point of view, you'll always have more awareness of what that can be.
That's so true. And, you know, one of the things that we talk about all the time on the show is asking questions. And so when you have a fixed point of view, like Heather was just talking about, and so let's talk a little bit about, you know, like asking questions versus the fixed point of view, and what the asking the questions actually will create, I just lost the word I was going to say, create for what you're looking to either change, or the whole topic of the conversation today, outcreate whatever it is that you would like to create in the world, or that you've created so far. So for you, how does asking questions contribute to all of that?
Well, I tell you, I would not want to live without questions. Questions are one of the 4 elements of creation. In Access, we talk about the elements of creation being question, choice, possibility, and contribution. And it's a totally different way of creating, and really a space of creating. When you begin to create with these elements of creation. And, you know, how it's done in this reality is you compute and you figure out and you project and you expect and you, you know, sort of like when it comes to business, let's say, like you kind of hope for the best. You know, it's like, well, this is the market research, and this is the statistics, and this is, you know, blah, blah, blah. You do all the research, you launch your thing or whatever, you know. But with the elements of creation, you're actually acknowledging that the universe is always creating with you. You're not in isolation. You don't actually have to figure anything out. And your business is always creating with you. And I mean, the earth is creating with you. Like, you can actually, you begin to actually create from the oneness and the consciousness that you actually be, which includes everything and judges nothing. And so it's a bit of a jumping track to begin to create with the elements of creation from, you know, how we're taught to do it, because it's a completely different universe that is so much more about receiving, and it's about acknowledging that our greatest asset is our awareness. And so if your greatest asset is your awareness, and there's many things we could say about that, but I mean, in short, you know, especially in times like this, when crazy things are going on, it's like nothing is predictable. Nothing's predictable anyway. So creating from your awareness it's always going to, if you're willing to, you know, be that sort of undefined, it's always going to yield more. Like these tools are just so pragmatic in that way. And doing things every day to expand what you be, and the receiving and the awareness that you have are going to kind of go hand in hand with the expansion of your life and your business and your money flows. And I've definitely seen that in my life and in lots and lots of people that I know. so how do you if your awareness is your greatest asset, how do you build the wealth of that? Well, you build the wealth of that by asking questions and making choices. Two of the elements of creation. Because every time you ask a question, you open doors to possibilities, and it's sort of the opposite of every time you go to a conclusion, you close doors. So if I said, like with the coronavirus, if I said, okay, oh shit, my business is going to die because nobody's going to have any money. Everybody's freaking out about money. Everybody's worried. Everybody's freaking out. And my business is now going to die, Well, that's the conclusion. That's the conclusion I would never choose to have. But, people get swept up in the tide of the hysteria, And so then it becomes this sort of no choice universe of, well, that's what's going to happen. I better brace myself. And that's, it's just so funny because all these economic, swings and the Dow losing 2,000 points, and it's all based on people's points of view and people's fear.
Yeah.
It's not like all this money just disappeared out of the world. It's a reflection of the fear of the people, and what they do with their money when they have that level of fear. And so that's the conclusionary reality. But the reality of question is to go, okay, like I was saying before, it's like just with this example, because it's up right now, okay, so if this wasn't a problem, what would the possibility be? So I ask that question and I immediately get a sense of lightening, like a sense of spaciousness and opening up in my own world. And then I basically what I've done is I've invited the universe to start to show me, all of the possibilities that could be there. One of the things I've been looking at with it as well, I mean, really, it's sort of like your choices, people's choices these days are hole up in your house and hide and wait for the whole thing to pass.
Right.
Or do something really different that you've never been willing to choose before to actually have the life that you would like to have no matter what, And I mean, for me, I'm like, that's a no-brainer, So the conclusionary fear reality is getting less and less desirable in a way, because it's not a controllable thing. And so I look at it and I go, wow, people are going to be looking for something different, in ways that they haven't been willing to before. And so what can I, from a business perspective, it's like, cool, well, what can I provide that would, address that would meet those needs? And so just asking that, being in the curiosity of it, and it goes back to not having a point of view, because if I had a point of view about it, there'd be this like fear and distraction running in the background, but there is, for me, there isn't. It's just like, cool, let's create with this, Yeah.
And it does bring up. Oops.
Well, I was just going to say, it's going to give me so much more awareness that I wouldn't have had.
So true.
Sorry.
So true. We're at our first break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, guys. Stay tuned for more yummy.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organisation, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The student asks the teacher, "How do I experience transformation?" The teacher replies, "When the student is ready to receive deeper answers, the student then asks, 'How do I know what deeper questions to ask?' And the teacher replies, 'When the student decides to commit to a practice inviting transformation, level 2 questions will be revealed.' Hi, I'm Tomas Garza, and as a teacher and host, I'm inviting listeners to enroll in the mastery of transformation by joining me on Decide to Transform, your bridge to Level 2 Answers, Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak.
Can we walk home?
How about a taxi?
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Welcome back to Imperfect, Brilliance, you guys, where we are talking today about outcreating. And so outcreating everything in your life, outcreating everything that maybe you've done so far, and talking too about when you come up with what you might consider a roadblock in your own life, like either just something you've decided you can't get past, or you can't ever. You talked a little bit about money earlier. You know, if let's say you've decided you can't ever make more than X amount of money, so you come up against that as a roadblock in your own life. What questions and tips would you start asking? If when you might realize that you're doing that, to be like, okay, I would like to choose something different now, because perhaps whatever it is I've decided doesn't really work for me anymore. So tell us some of the questions and things that you would ask in that kind of situation.
Yeah, well, I guess I would start with what's really true for me. Because so often when things are not working in our lives, it's actually because we've chosen things that aren't actually true for us. We think we want something, and a lot of times it's because somebody else wants it for us, or somebody else just wants it, And so a lot of times when things are not actually showing up that we say we desire, or things are not working out how we say we would like them to, it's actually because we don't truly desire it. And that's a moment of vulnerability that, if you're willing to have that with yourself, can really open up some different choices and different awareness and questions. And so there's this. So I would start there, and because the thing is that if you're choosing what is true for you, and you're creating with a sense of lightness, and we say in active consciousness, anything that is true for you will always make you feel lighter, and anything that's a lie for you will always make you feel heavier. So it makes you feel sort of dense and not very excited about life and all of that. But when something is true for you, when you're it's working, or you're creating, or you're just happy, it's like there's a sense of lightness, and it's such an amazing barometer to use for what it is that you're choosing. And it's funny because a lot of times when things aren't working, there is, I would say probably all the time, there's a heaviness to it, but we think the heaviness is some sort of challenge we need to overcome or whatever. But what if you could just redirect, jump tracks, make a different choice in any moment, and start to go, okay, what's actually going to work for me here, and what's actually true? What would be fun, And the joy of business, it's all about enjoying yourself and being you and having fun creating, and acknowledging that your business is your whole life, and that's how you create money. And that's when the money just comes, is when you're really enjoying yourself. it's also one of those, sort of worlds where we do have to kind of relearn or learn in a totally different way how to choose and create, because nobody has, most of us didn't grow up with our parents asking us, what would be really fun for you? What would be a really fun life for you? It's like, you're going to go to school, and then you're going to get married, and then you're going to have kids, and then you're going to retire, and then you're going to die, and that's not actually fun for a lot of people, maybe even most.
Well, and it brings up an energy that, for me, for sure, it was at one point in my life, I'm like, is this all there is? Like, what am I doing? What in the world? And so then that's when I started seeking something different. And that's where I found, I was just getting so depressed and miserable in my life. And then finding the tools of access consciousness and finding the questions and finding all these other possibilities and how much it has opened up my life. And truly, it is a smorgasbord of possibilities of different things, and it's a constant adventure into the unknown, really. And so how is that like contribute to outcreating everything you've created so far?
Well, that's so beautifully put. I mean, a constant adventure into the unknown. It's kind of all that we have in a way. And it's not all that we have in terms of it's not enough. It's like brilliantly, amazingly what we have that's actually true, Mm-hmm. And it's like everything in this world is organized around predictability, but predictability isn't possible. It's not something that actually we can ever achieve. And, it's so evident in everything that goes on, a stock market crash or, terrorism or, an earthquake or, all these things that occur, it's none of it is predictable. None of it is controllable. And yet somehow we continue kind of pounding our heads against this brick wall, trying to make predictability and controllability a reality, but we've never succeeded at it, and we've been at it for a long time, so I'm sort of like, okay, well, that's not working, and people sort of marginally, maybe get it to work and they have some level of kind of quote unquote success in this reality, but a lot of those people are quite miserable, and so it's like, all right, well, maybe you have money, but are you like really thriving and enjoying your life? Or maybe you have a successful business, but is that all that you do,
Right. Right.
And so, and so many of us we've never been drawn to that reality. I know for me, I was like, oh, I'd rather just not have money than have to do that, but I also like money, and I like to create. I like creating, and I like having it. I like playing with it. So for me, that kind of was one of the many, many things that had me seeking a different possibility, with business. But so it's like, okay, cool. So that doesn't work. Like, that's not actually a pragmatic, workable universe to try to predict things. So then what, well, there's this whole universe of tools and set of tools called Access Consciousness that is actually about you having awareness and you actually knowing and you having that grand and glorious adventure of the creation of your life. And it's not just a really lovely woo-woo conversation that we go, yeah, that's really inspiring, great. I'm going to go back to my boring life and, be bummed out that can't ever be a possibility. Mm-hmm. Because we actually have pragmatic, weird tools, but they are super pragmatic, that work, and so now all of a sudden you have this toolbox that's like, here you go. Like, this is the toolbox the likes of which this world has never seen, to actually harness the reality that nothing is predictable and nothing is controllable and you can't count on anything. It's like, okay, cool, that's not a problem to be solved that will never be solved. It's actually a possibility to be harnessed, to be played with, to be embraced, to be used as the you. Like when you're being you, it's like that's part of you, you know? So now let's get pragmatic about it and go, okay, cool. You may want things to be predictable, but not going to happen. So you want to keep beating your head against the brick wall? Or would you like some really pragmatic tools that just will allow you to begin to create in a totally different way? And I would say the biggest thing with that is that you have to be willing to be different. You're not going to be able to, the tools don't really work. I mean, they work kind of to create a better version of this reality, but they really work when you're willing to be different.
So well put. They really work if you're willing to be different. So let's talk a little bit about that. What if you're not willing to be that, be different, be that? What do you get? Like, is that going to create more of everything that you're wanting to not create, or what's that going to do when you're unwilling?
If you're not willing to be different, I mean, well, if you're not willing to be different, you're probably not listening to this radio show. I mean, there's got to be some curiosity to listen to us for this long, you know. So you may be a little terrified of the whole prospect, but, you know, I would say people that are really committed to not being different, they just want me to tell them where to invest their money and what to do and how to do it right now, you know, and how much toilet paper to buy. So, you know, but, so yeah, I mean, and the thing is that, you know, I didn't actually realize that I was different. I was willing to be different, but I didn't realize that I was for a long time. And that's something that a lot of times, you know, people who are drawn to access, you know, don't get how different they actually are. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, asked me years ago, have you acknowledged the difference that you be? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I have a graduate degree. I went to an Ivy League college. I got married. I have kids. I got divorced. Like, I'm totally normal, you know? And he laughed and, you know, and then I started exploring that question and realizing, oh, you know, the fact that I am not willing to settle for unhappiness makes me different. You know, the fact that I'm not willing to settle for mediocrity makes me different. The fact that I'm always asking for greater and more makes me different, even if I judge it, which most of us do. You know, it makes you different.
Wow, you know, I never have looked at it that way before, Heather, honestly. Like the not being willing to be unhappy, and, you know, it's like I never looked at it as like, that makes you different.
Case in point, everybody.
Wow. Interesting. Right, yes. Great case in point. That's awesome.
I love it.
No, I never looked at it like that. I just was like, there's got to be something different, and not being willing any longer. And believe me, I trudged along for a long time in that mire and that quicksand of the unhappiness, and to the point where I was like, I cannot do this any longer. And that, we talked a little bit earlier about, that's, looking back on it now, that's when I made the demand that something freaking was going to change here. And so I made that demand, and then the universe was like, oh, okay. And followed as we talk about, like, followed the whispers, followed the breadcrumbs that the universe gave me. It wasn't like I had a huge neon sign right in front of me banging on my head that said, go here. But I went here. I was like, oh, what's this? And what's that? And I found Reiki. And then from Reiki, I met this person who did angel card readings, and we became really good friends. And from that, she called me one day and said, "Oh my God, I found this thing I think you're really going to like. What's that?" And my whole body was like, whoa, and I just started following what was exciting for me, or what Heather talked about earlier in the show about what was light for me. I was like, oh, what's that? And I just like literally would lean towards it and explore it. What is that? What is that? And then that's how I found the Access Bars, which is a beautiful, very gentle body process that starts releasing so many stuck energies and does all kinds of amazing things. And that was my first introduction into the whole body of tools, and there's all kinds of different ways you could possibly find out about Access. But that was for me, and looking at it now, like that was my demand, where I was, okay, I'm going to outcreate what I've been creating, because you know what? This freaking sucks. And I am no longer happy being that unhappy.
Yeah, that's not different at all.
Oh. Oops.
Because, I mean, you look around the world, everybody's doing that, aren't they?
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that funny?
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, see, that's exactly it. I mean, and the same, when Gary asked me that question, I was like, I'm not different, but we don't get that. We can't see ourselves, in the way that others can. But if you look around the world, I mean, even just choosing to have happiness as a priority in your life, well, even just, that is really different. Most people are like, happiness, I'll have that when I'm rich, or I'll have that when I find my love, or, but no, that's not, or even like maybe someday, like when all my ducks are in a row, maybe I'll be happy, but I need to take care of business first, Yes.
Oh my God, that is such a great point. It's always, you put everything else in front, and I'll do it later, and I'll do it later. Well, I guess we'll talk in a couple more minutes about more with this conversation. So thank you, Heather, so much for being with us today. Heather Nichols, and we'll be back very soon. Thanks, guys.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
So how much fun can you have out creating everything that you've decided you can't create? And we're here today with Heather Nichols. And Heather, for people who might want to find out more about you, would you mind sharing with everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, my website is heathernichols.com. So that's easy. And I am on Facebook, Heather Nichols CF, like certified facilitator. That's my business page. Or Heather Carrion Nichols is my personal page. And people can search me on YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff.
Wonderful.
Heather K. Nichols, I think. So, yeah.
And it's Nichols. If anybody's wondering how to spell her name. And then if you're, and she is on Facebook. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at creatingyumminess.com. And I, too, am on Facebook, Betsy McLoughlin, McLoughlin. Or you can look for Imperfect, Brilliance. And we're just so grateful you guys are listening to our conversation today. Heather, what have you outcreated in your own life? Like, where have you decided something and then been like, you know what? No, this is changing, and then done it?
Oh gosh. I mean, I like to do that every day.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually always asking to outcreate everything I've ever created before. I would say a big choice for me with this energy was when I got divorced, which was forever ago, but I guess it was 11 years ago now. My kids were 1 and 3, and I didn't actually know, I hadn't found access consciousness at the time, but I kind of used the tools not knowing what they were. And I really, it was that thing of, okay, what's true for me? What's actually true for me? What would be fun for me? And I looked at my life and my marriage, and it was like, not this. Like it was fine, but it wasn't horrible, but it was not what I knew I could have in terms of so many, like every area of my life, like relationship and sex and family and money and business. And I was just like, you know what? I just knew that if I kept going down that path, I would just end up really marginally happy, if that. And I was willing to prioritize happiness, and I always have been. And so I really totally jumped off a cliff. I just said, okay, let's change it. And took my entire life apart with 2 little babies, and knew what I was asking for, in a way. Like I knew, and I also didn't know. And have ever since, I just have been creating something really different in every way since then. And I definitely am living now the life that I knew I could have. I didn't know the details or the specifics, but I knew I could have a life like the life I have now. And I'm always asking to outcreate it.
I love that. And so what questions do you ask? I know a couple that came to my mind are, and then I'd love to hear what you would like to add to that, is how does it get any better than this? That is one of my favorite questions. So no matter what's going on in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever you may think, like, how does it get better than this? Like right now, I literally have a broken pipe in my basement. I had to have all these people come in and take out 3 feet of drywall, and I don't have carpet. I've got all these things going on, and I'm like, okay, but I didn't go to this place of panic and, oh my God, and blah, I was really stayed in that question of, okay, how does it get better than this? And I wonder what is right about all of this that maybe I'm not getting right now. And some things actually started coming in. I'm like, hey, well, I guess I'm getting either new flooring of some sort. And, we just started laughing about it. It's like, well, this is an interesting way to get it. So what other questions do you ask, Heather?
Yeah, I love the question, how does it get better than this? Because you can ask it in all situations, and it really is this like constant, it's like gratitude plus request for more, always.
Yes.
And it's actually like a very magical question that I've been even discovering lately, even more how magical it actually is. I think just really it's like whatever you're asking for in your life, whatever, and even if you don't know, you could just ask for clarity and ease around what you would like to have. But it really does come down to what it is that you're being. Having more of something in your life, whether it's more joy or more ease with your body or more money or growth in your business or relationship, whatever it is, it's going to come down to what are you willing to receive? And what you're willing to receive is always sort of determined by what you are and are not willing to be. So I always like to ask, what else can I be? And what else can I do to outcreate this, or to, create whatever it is that I'm asking for? What can I be and do today to create blah, 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 or to outcreate everything I've ever created before? What can I choose today? Because choice is also a huge, a whole other conversation, but it really, choice is a huge part of creation. And if you don't make different choices, if you make the same choice every day, relatively speaking, your reality is going to continue to show up pretty much the same, if not decay. And so you have to also be choosing different things, being different, choosing different, doing different every single day. And if you really commit to that and you're asking for that, you don't have to get the answer, quote unquote, right away. This is about awareness, but you're just living that question and asking those questions every day. Things will show up and you'll step into more and you'll choose different things and you'll have different awareness. And your life will just continue to expand. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, coronavirus, stock market crash, whatever, your life will continue to expand.
Beautiful. Beautifully put. So if you don't, and it's like if you don't buy into everybody else's point of view and you stay with what you know, and you ask the questions and you're willing to go into even to the unknown, and not just go along with what everybody else might be saying or doing, and really just follow your knowing. It is a lot of times, like we talked earlier, it could be totally down a path of the unknown, uncharted territory where not necessarily what you might consider a safe choice or what's the other word I'm looking for here? I can't think of it. But I think like you said earlier too, Heather, it's
like a predictable.
People, yes, thank you. And people listening to this show probably they're looking for something different anyhow. They're not looking to be the safe, predictable any longer. Maybe they had been like me. I definitely tried to be in that, fit into that, what I thought I was supposed to be and do, until it just was like, I cannot do this anymore. And I wonder how many other people out there are feeling that, and like, and getting like now there's something different is available, and we have these beautiful, amazing tools and questions. And one of the questions that's popping right now is it really that easy?
Well, it's as easy as you allow it to be. And another awesome tool, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. That's the mantra of Access Consciousness. And, all these tools, they seem so too easy to actually work, but that goes back to your question is, can it really be that easy? Well, yeah, it actually can if you're willing. And I will say that the receiving of ease, like the ease of creation, has been, in a way, one of the more sort of challenging parts of, the more ease shows up in my life, I'm like, whoa, dang. It actually requires a lot of courage to have a reality of total ease, because it's completely not allowed in this reality.
Mm. Well, and that even goes back to are you willing to be different?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you willing to be different? Are you willing to even be a trailblazer to going out of that box that you might have put yourself in and getting out of that mentality of, I'm going to choose what everybody else is choosing because that's what you're supposed to do, and be willing to be like, you know what? No, that's great if it works for you, and it's not working for me, so I'm going to do something different. And be willing to not have a clue and go anyhow.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you don't have a clue and you're willing to do it anyhow, and you can ask these questions, then I wonder what doors magically start opening and appearing.
Yeah. Well, you're free at that point. I mean, you're free, by choice. But I always tell people, in business classes and stuff, it's like you're off the hook for ever having to know how again. Because knowing how is not a thing. It's not something you can know. You just have to choose and move and ask and follow your awareness and follow the lightness. And so how is kind of an irrelevant question if you're willing for it to be. And there's so much freedom in that, and it's also very sort of out of control energy, But it's everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, as we say, And it's the choosing and the moving and the commitment to what it is that you desire, and the choice for outcreation, whatever that looks like for you, that sets the wheels in motion. And then the how is just, what you choose along the way, what you ask along the way, what you do along the way, what you create along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no destination.
Well, and it gives you the freedom to stop tying yourself up in knots over the figuring out how to do it and be I can't tell you the number of times where I've stopped myself dead in my tracks by I don't know how to do it. So, and then there's been plenty of other times where I have had no clue and I've done it anyhow. And, so I've done both parts to that. And so if you don't allow yourself to stop when you don't know something, then who could you talk to? What questions could you ask? Who do you need, where do you need to go to get the answers and get the guidance or whatever it is that you might require in any situation?
Yeah. Those are also great. Who can I go? Who can I talk to? Where can I go? What can I choose? What can I do? It's just that. All you got to do is just keep asking that. And, again, don't look for an answer right then and there. Mm-hmm. Don't look for an answer ever. It's never about an answer. It's just the more questions you ask without a point of view, without a need for a quote unquote answer, you're just constantly inviting more awareness all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you just ask questions all day long? How much more awareness would you have at the end of the day than when you started, and made choices that you've never made before? I mean, it's really It's like living as the consciousness that you be, not the person with the brain and the mind, It's just so much bigger. Talk about outcreation.
Yeah. So you don't have to be, the walking, talking brain, you can just actually start being the question and living as the question. And from that, it gives you such a freedom where you don't have to have the answers, and you don't have to be the problem solver, and you can just keep asking.
Yeah. All of life comes with ease, joy, and glory.
And so with that, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And what a great way to end our conversation today. What does saying that gift you in your life?
The willingness to have that as my life. And it makes it more, it expands it more and more every day.
Thank you so much, Heather, for being on with us today. So grateful that you came and talked all about outcreating.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Heather. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.